What's going on, everyone? Vast majority of people want to see the Lund and the tracker built in tandem. So that's what I'm going to do. Some of the things about the tracker, I'm going to put this Gator Glide stuff on the bottom, this epoxy. It's supposed to really seal in the rivets and stiffen up the bottom really well to make it fairly leak-proof and impenetrable, which is really important on that boat. That's one of my biggest worries on that boat, period. And that might be my only worry. If I can get past that, we can do very cool stuff with the tracker. But until then, I want to show you this Lund, where I started from it. I mean, the initial part is right where it was gutted to where I get it now. So a little bit of story behind the Lund. I'm just trying to make this boat bulletproof. This is where I want to put boats that I do now. I mean, this is one of the last 90-10 principal boats that I'm gonna push out with a nice bass boat deck and a bench to push the principal to make a really serious tiller life boat. Let me see how we're gonna do this. There's a bass fish out of this thing. These are like 2 foot 2 inch walls, man. These are at least 2 foot walls they're bass fishing out of. That must be miserable. Can you imagine bass fishing with like 2 foot walls?
Maybe. That was easy.
Live ball, dude. Check that out.
That's old school shit.
Floor. Could it be the stock floor? It might be the stock floor. I don't think it is.
Oh, the screws look too neat, clean.
Nah, it's not the stock floor.
Looks clean.
Oh, that epic. Oh yeah. Just gonna come out there. Oh yeah, look at that. Is it like yummy? It just makes your mouth water. Only not. Yeah. I'm gonna drop this over. God, that's heavy, dude. Oh. That's heavy. It's like a body. That's gotta be like 80 pounds. Is that like an inch piece of wood? It is so much weight. The truth, does it just look like death or is it really death?
Wow, it was easy.
This is the funnest demo I've ever had. I really hate demos. Oh. You know, dude, it's not even bad. I mean, no.
It was starting to.
Now I really feel, yeah. I mean, that's not the same stuff that we're gonna use. That's more than that. That's the same foam that Tracker used in it that I condemned.
Yeah.
I think they just use a lot of it. I don't know what this is. It's gotta be as certain. Yeah. All right. Well, even though this doesn't weigh that much at all, we're gonna get rid of it. But that's pretty cool though. It's just like plop. Here, you can take it. It's pretty funny. I'm gonna have to order more pour foam. The quality of the foam do the pour job. Like it's so good and even. Maybe it's a spraying. I think that's spraying. I don't really know. I don't want to. I don't know. Oh gosh, right there. Well, that's likely for reasons you suspect.
Yeah. Maybe. I don't know, but hit me in the face.
Well, when you opened it up, I mean that's the benefit of redoing this stuff is that whatever's pitted into the foam will go.
It's loud.
All right, there's that. Oh God, there's more of it. I'm not gutting that right now. That's too much.
That's deep.
That's so much. That's not.
That's it. That's where it stops. The rest of it looks empty.
Do you think this is a stock deck? It can't be a stock deck. There's no way. But there's some stuff that happened here. I don't know. There's some bootleggery going on. Why we showed you that demo was because we wanted to show you how it originally was put together and what we're going to do to make improvements on the original design. So the original design was a series of pulled in pour foam, sectioned off with that little styrofoam there to kind of keep it bloated in, because they ran the drain tubes all the way down the center into that live well. I initially wanted to keep that live well because it was part of the hull, but it was terrible. All the parts here that I was gutting out, they had to be removed. I instead put my own implemented live well version in here with a 14-gallon brute box, which should give even more room for the bass to stay healthy and move around in. Before that though, we had to make initial pours here with a 2-part polyurethane pour foam. From Total Bolt, we had to pour it right here in the beginning because once we go too far into this, there's no way we're going to be able to get it in and make sure it inflates properly. And where you saw those styrofoam edges bordering the foam before, we got rid of that and we made a channel down the middle out of very thin. That was like 0.025 aluminum sheeting. We used a few ends in here, a few little bit of like 3/4 inch angle to bracket it in where we needed to, but we wanted that one floor to be channeled in with nothing to block it in, with nothing to bloat it in. We wanted water to flow through there like seamlessly. We got rid of some of the tubing. I think they used like garden hose initially. Some stuff is just utterly mortifying, but you find more and more that it was more of a common practice to cut corners, because I don't think they really believed that some asshole would come around and get all the boats and expose them on YouTube like I have. So cut all the boat companies some slack. If you ever see some of these things during your project, it is what it is. Fact is, you have a different purpose. When you're doing these boats, you're not building them to last just long enough until the new model comes out in the upcoming years. You're building this boat to last another 40 years and give you no problems at all. You're building this boat to pass on to your children, to your family members, something you can be proud of. A long time ago, I told my audience to steer away from pour foam because in aluminum boats, there are spots where it just puddles and it eventually saturates and ruins the foam. But once I started working with it and I watched how it bloated, there are ways to minimize water retention, and that's why I put those tubes lined all the way across from each side, drilling all the way into the middle channel, draining into the channel. So the point is, if you have the tube there and then you bloat the foam later, that the foam rises up in more of a mushroom and there leaves a low point, and you can cut the tube at the low point and the water will drain into the low point down into the channel. This time I've chosen to run super thin 0.025 aluminum sheeting over the initial floor for a layout, and then I will thicken the subfloor in spots where I need it to actually be structural worthy. But for that part, this is going to just fit in sections. We're going to do 1/8 inch rivets in short sections just to get it to the floor so we have a good basis to get everything on. And then once that's in here, that's why we drilled those out with a hole saw, because we're going to pour more in and actually finish it off to where it has an overflow to bloat out. So I did this right for most of the part. There's only one spot where it bloated out of control and I couldn't sit there and put pressure on it. So when it's at like this, you need to be standing on it to put pressure on it, because if you put enough pressure on it initially, then it'll stay that way. But if you just let it go and it expands, and then you lost your ground for it. Alright, I hope you enjoyed that. The rest of the series gets even better. I did more or less perfect Gen 5 in this boat. A lot of the reason I can't really demo all of Gen 5 because I didn't have a whole hand in perfecting all of it. I presented the initial idea. My patrons in the Die Hard chat actually perfected it and made schematics of it and did their own little deal. And it's actually, you know, it's not just mine anymore. It's my patrons. And out of respect, it's going to stay there on Patreon, the vast majority of it. But you will get you'll get glimpses of it here and there, of it going in and how it's assembled into the boat. But the series is a good series. You should watch it. Check it out. Check out the playlists. Check out everything. See ya.